Hello everyone, it's Ben Westwood here, author of Poems from a Runaway, my true story of running away from 10 years old, living on the streets of London and going through the care system. If you haven't heard of it, check it out. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. This podcast I'm going to call Do You Debate or Mob? Because I know, again, like I'm not the only one that's seeing certain things going on, but might not always talk about it. And there's a reason why it's called Do You Debate or Mob? Because if you don't know me, I've got dreadlocks, I play music, I love Bob Marley, I love peace and love, I respect people's opinions, I respect people's choices. But also, I think there's a fine line between respecting people's choices and allowing harm and darkness to continue or grow in society. And I think sometimes, in the name of human rights, in the name of equal rights, sometimes, not that I'm not for it, but in the name of that and kind of hijacking that can often be another narrative. But what gets even more confusing is that the people that hijack human rights, the people that hijack equal rights, know that they've got a whole crowd of people behind them that will follow them without even thinking, that will stand up for them without even thinking, or will stand up for causes without even thinking. And yet that's popular, and apparently this is alternative. I'm getting a bit wound up really, because I'm finding that when people do think for themselves and do question things, especially within our own movements of alternative media and what people might know as, you know, that craving for a revolution, all the left side of, you know, I'm as liberal as you can get, trust me. But what I'm saying is that anybody questions anything that goes against this narrative, you're getting shut down by what I know as groupthink. And this has come to my mind not only because of my last recent video, which is titled "Do Some Trans Activists Push Too Far?" Check that out. But I noticed this when I was talking about the grooming scandals that was happening across the UK. That people can't now talk about the grooming scandals that have happened in places such as Telford, where I live, one's just come out in Huddersfield, you've got Rotherham, Rochdale, all over the country these grooming scandals are coming out. Young girls, this isn't, you know, the thing is people aren't realising that it's young girls, they're looking at it in the media article as just another number. Wake up people, these are real young women. And what I found is that as soon as you start talking about these grooming scandals, whoa, no, people say you can't talk about this, you're being racist. Hold up a minute. Whatever happened to that caring for people around you? Because there's a few things I'm going to say, and people are going to think I'm specifically talking about them, and I'm not. A few of you are coming straight to mind. You're going to think, bloody hell, sounds like he's talking about me. I'm talking about a lot of people here. This seems to be happening with a lot of people. I'm not saying, if you're one of them people, I'm not saying you're completely brainwashed, but be careful of naively standing up. I think sometimes naively crushing people down. I found that you get mobbed. When you talk about the grooming scandals, you get mobbed as being a racist by people, and so you're not even allowed to go into specifics anymore. So it's all right if I was to go and talk about a grooming scandal that involved churches. In theory, I should be allowed to, say that without getting mobbed. But I'll tell you the true reality on that, because not a lot of people know that I was actually involved in trying to blow the whistle within the church community. Everyone thinks I'm talking total balls. Easily got covered up, swept under the carpet, and I've been trying to shout out about it, and nobody's ever wanted to listen anyway. Nobody wanted to listen anyway, so it doesn't matter what you're talking about. Nobody wants to listen, trust me. I went through it for years, completely on my own. My last place got burgled. I had everything stolen. All my photographs from my childhood stolen, and it's all been allowed to happen, and it's all been shady. There's been some shady stuff happening with my life the last few years, and it sent me nuts. But I'm not here to talk about that. But when I did try saying to people whether it was about what I'd seen grooming, not a lot of people wanted to know. It's people just didn't want to face the true issues. They just didn't seem strong enough. Something in almost everyone I spoke to just shied, I don't want to talk about that, changed the subject, and I felt completely on my own. But then when I was on the internet and I started looking into the grooming scandals that were coming out, specifically with, some within the Asian community, as soon as I started talking about them, I'm a racist. Anybody, they're getting labelled as gammon, people are now. Things are getting so weird, for talking about this, and just get labelled as that you're in the EDL, that you've signed up for a membership with the BNP or something. No, I'm just a free thinker. And I always thought, within all my things, that I'd have people from the left behind me, and I never did. So when I went in 2009, whatever it was, when I had a gambling addiction and I won £200 on the roulette, one of my first ever time in the bookies, when I started researching all this, and I looked into all the psychology of it, and I started realising that so many people were getting trapped into it, and that the crime rate was going up, and that old ladies were getting robbed, and daughters were robbing their mothers because they had bingo addictions, and companies were just getting conned the heck out of because of gambling addiction. Police officers were falling for gambling addiction and turning dodgy. Postmen robbing from parcels, turning to gambling addiction. The head teachers killing themselves. Nobody wanted to know. Nobody was there, man. I had to send thousands and thousands of emails out. I did it all myself, because not many people shared on social media. The only people that wanted to know was the actual other few, at the time, gambling campaigners. And I was there, I was there putting things up on, what's the site I used to use when I was younger? Because I used to do all the protests and that, you see. Something media, I forgot what it's called, but there's this site I uploaded it to, and I thought I'd have all the activists with me saying, he's onto something there. We've got to really make sure we've got bright communities, and that's what's healthy. Never had it, but just got shut down by everyone, and never knew why. I thought, hang on, do people really want to change the world, or are they just following this narrative? Is it all just balls? And that's really, at the age of 33 years old, that's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling like people don't really want to change the world, they just want something to hate. And people might think I'm contradictory with making that last video that's called "Do Some Trans Activists Take Things Too Far?" But if you haven't seen the podcast video thing, it's concerning these plastic willies that are marketed for people to give to 5 to 7 year old children. If they think that their child's confused and might want a sex change, they're marketed to 5-year-olds. And I did this podcast thinking, whoa, you can't. That's concerning. People, what are people doing? And I knew what was going to happen as soon as I uploaded it. I was going to get shut down. Oh, you're transphobic, homophobic, or whatever. Oh, you're ignorant, blah blah blah. But that is the same reaction I got also when I talked about the grooming scandals. So hang on, I don't need to say it, do I? I don't actually need to say that line, but I'll just repeat what I said again. You work this out for yourself, how easily shady stuff is getting covered up in the world. And I'm not saying people that are covering it up are into that stuff, but hang on, I'm the one with ignorance. I'll just say these two lines again. When I was concerned about silicone penises being marketed to young children, I got shut down and told I was ignorant. When I started talking about the grooming scandals that were happening in Telford, Rotherham, Rochdale, I got told I was ignorant. I don't need to say any more than that. And if that hasn't hit you, if you haven't just thought about what I've said and thought, hang on, whoa, maybe this all just get covered up by people's ignorance, then I don't know what will. You know, I can't change the world through podcasts or emailing off to thousands of people and blogging and all that like I've tried. I know that. Unfortunately, for all my years of activism and all my years of having faith in my fellow, left-wing liberal people, sorry, at 33 years old, I've grown to be quite bitter and quite let down by everyone. And it's not just my friends from the left, it's everyone. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It's not everyone. Two or three, I could count on my two hands that the people that I know, that I speak to regularly, that feel the same way I do about things, really. And that maybe instead of trying to be politically correct all the time and following this narrative of always being politically correct, that maybe we should sometimes be a little bit concerned about some things, and that just because you are concerned about some things, in theory, you should get 3 bonus points for that, but you don't. You don't. You get told that you're ignorant and that you're a racist, or that you're just some oaf. Very strange what's going on. It's almost like it's engineered. I think a few of us people can see that it's engineered. That people aren't quite you're not allowed to look at the details of things anymore. In the name of just being shut down by what I know now as the mob. And I've been involved in the activism scene for years, to the point I've been so deep in the activism scene that we've had police raiding our house at 2 o'clock in the morning, locking us all in a room for hours, cutting off the electric, making sure that we've got no electric where we live. So, hopefully, I don't want to sound too ignorant. I do care about the world. I do care about, and God, man, with my last video, I've probably got people I know from the cities that think I'm a right transphobe or homophobe, and I hope they just know that I've got a lot of love for people and I respect people and their choices, and I'm not just, when it comes to young children and their heads, that's where I'll step in and say, whoa, and that's where I was hoping that those people would step in. Because if those people that are involved in that scene, of the LGBT scene, aren't thinking themselves, whoa, that's something we should keep in check, that's something that's not quite right, maybe, then I'm concerned. So if you are, involved in that scene, and you do think that, giving these plastic silicone willies to kids aged 5 to 7 to 10, is a bit weird, like I do, and a bit too young, then man, this world needs you, man. This world needs your voice, because they ain't listening to people like me, There needs an insider in there. So if you're involved in that scene, man, and you're hearing this, God, there's a lot of people who need waking up, man, please. You might, all you people listening to this might be the many that think I'm ignorant, but I know I'm never going to be popular, so that's cool. Like, I'm happy to be able to talk freely about how I already feel now. You know, I've just spent a year and a half promoting a book that everyone said was going to be brilliant, and done it all myself, and it's just don't sell anything, you know. So I know if that hasn't worked, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not, you know, I'm not in it. I'm not in this to be popular, man. But they're shutting people down, and but what happens to just being able to see someone else's point? Because that is what is bugging me, man. Is that people? It's like you're talking to robots. It really is like you're talking to robots. There's nobody saying, "Oh, I hear your point," but they're not saying, "Oh, yeah, I can see where you're coming from." They're just predictable, man. You know everything they're gonna say. They're gonna throw you all the labels, all the hate. Man, we need a few. If you're hearing this and you know where I'm coming from, and you're just a soul-based person, and you do respect people's free will and rights, and respect all that, you know, but also show a bit of concern in the world. You know, you've got a lot of art, and man, the world needs some sensible heads getting together, man. God, these people are eating themselves, ain't they? You know. And, you know, there's a lot of people searching for a place to belong, or they're searching for a revolution. And in a world full of so much hate, in a world full of so much pain, and so much people just being horrible to each other, there's sometimes there's there's certain places that's the only kind of categories people can go. And if they fall into these places of people just being ignorant themselves but calling everyone else ignorant, what hope has anybody got? You know? And man, we need to find some middle ground. You should be allowed to talk about things without being labelled somethingist or a something phobe. Otherwise, we aren't even being deep. We're just scratching the surface, and we're being a bit like robots. And sorry to offend loads of people, but that's where I see us going. And I'm no better. I've been there. I'll probably still be there. Who knows? Might even regret what I'm saying. One might hear this back in a few months' time and think, "Blooming it, where was I at?" But what I'm noticing is that same philosophy of being prepared to be wrong isn't being applied in this thing I call groupthink. And it's happening on the left and it's happening on the right. You know, I'm not saying it's all in one place, or I'm not dissing the left, you know, I'm concerned. I'm just one of them people that tries to improve his environment, you know, and that is my environment. Yeah, so forget the groupthink, man. Think for yourself. Stop being worried about what people say, as long as you're not directly offending anybody. I am a bit concerned that I'm offending people by being concerned about what I'm concerned about with my last video. Because people should be understanding a little bit, at least, even if they don't agree with me, where I'm coming from. Anyway, stop mobbing each other. That's all I'm going to say, man. I've had my rant now. I'm going to chill out. And if you haven't checked my book, Poems from a Runaway, it's available on Amazon. It's a really good read. Everyone that's read it, honestly, has said they can't put it down. But it's just people giving it that chance, really. Not many people have read it, so a few people have read the ebook. Over 100 people, I think about 1 or 2 actually left a review, even though I asked them. But oh well. No, thanks to everyone who supported it, because we've got a few copies here printed, and a few that I can sell at some events coming up and things like that, and that wouldn't have happened without my crowdfunder. If you don't know already, I wrote Poems from a Runaway in 2017, about my life on the streets as a kid and all that, and did a crowdfunder and got a few printed, so I'm giving them a few away for free and things like that to some charities and all that. And hardbacks will be delivered soon if you're reading this, just as it's uploaded, next week actually. So if you ordered a hardback on the crowdfunder, I don't have them for sale on my website, but you can get signed copies of my paperback at benwestwooduk.blogspot.co.uk. All the best, everyone. Debate, not mob. That's the answer. Peace and love.